Why do I say dreaming? Well, there are two kinds of dreams. There's the nocturnal dreams at night, and then there are the dreams that are our heart's desires. Okay? And the dreams at night come from a very deep unconscious place. And that's why they're so pure and so valuable, because the left brain is not in the way. It's not in there editing. It's not coming from your persona or the masks that you wear or the roles that you play. The dreams come from a very deep soul place. It's the soul talking. And so this does the same thing. If you allow yourself to not try to perform or make a picture of something, and just allow the challenge to show itself to you the way it would in a dream, then you'll really be able to catch the gold that's buried there. And that's what we're doing here. We're dreaming on paper when we do these kinds of exercises. This is all based in art therapy. And the whole point about the arts therapies is to get to the unconscious through the language of the unconscious, which is dreams and the arts. And if anybody in here has ever read Carl Jung's work or seen his Red Book, which was his own journal, it's very clear that the language of emotions is in the arts and in dreams at night. And of course, there's nothing better to interpret dreams than the arts, because they're talking the same language, really. Images, and dreams come to us in visual images, kinesthetic experiences. And that's what we're doing here. We're dealing with the same kind of elements that we encounter in dreams. So this is, as far as I'm concerned, this and voice dialogue and dramatic role playing, that sort of thing, are the best means of deciphering dreams at night. The other kind of dreams, the ones that have to do with your heart's desire, your bucket list, as we now say, are really coming from the same place. Because we often don't know what our true heart's desire is. We think we do. But our thoughts are so shaped by our culture, family, expectations of others, etc., that it's hard for us to really get in touch with what is our true heart's desire. And that will often come through in dreams at night, and it'll often come through in this work. And of course, I have a whole book about that called Visioning, creating, that's where you're creating the life that you want from your inner images. And we'll do a little bit of that at the end of the day, not with collage, but with drawing. Yes.
So I guess I've never thought about dream work, and I never thought about dream work in relation to what you do.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess I don't really know why do you do dream work, or why are you paying attention to dreams?
Well, dreams are speaking for things that we've stuffed down into the unconscious, and if they don't get brought out into the light where we can see them, they will tend to somatize. So that's another cause of illness. One cause is that we repress and suppress our feelings. We suppress them first, and then we repress them. So like if, as a child, your family did not approve of anybody crying, it was just a no-no, then as a child you get the impression, oh, if I cry they're going to make fun of me. Well, I better not cry. Well, you know what? I better not have the feelings that make me cry, because then I won't want to cry, and then I won't get in trouble. So saying to yourself, I better not cry because they don't like it, is suppression. Repression is when you forget that you even have the feelings that make you cry, because they're so stuffed down. So that goes into the body. But the other thing that goes into the body are things that we don't want to look at in ourselves. So things that we don't want to look at, qualities that we have, or qualities that we need to develop, will show up in dreams. And there is a chapter in the Creative Journal that is all about dreams and intuition, mostly about dreams. And here's a picture of a dream. The picture state is the closest to the dream state that you're going to get. So if you want to transition out of the dream state and remember your dreams, your best bet is to draw a very simple cartoon of the dream as soon as you wake up. Because if you start writing, you're already transferring over quite abruptly into your left brain. And you don't want to do that. You want to stay in this state as long as you can. Because the longer you stay in the right brain, the more insights and the more memory you're going to have of the dream. And I want to caution you that in my experience, there's no such thing as being able to look up dream symbolism like in a dictionary. Oh, if I had a dream about a river with rapids in it, it means X, Y, and Z. That's ridiculous. Everybody has a different interpretation of the elements of the dream. You know, for me, the woods represented wanting to write. That might not be true for other people. That's a totally personal thing of mine. So I do not believe in that really simplistic, you know, one-to-one correspondence about symbolism in any regard. Yeah, there are some universal aspects to symbolism, but when it comes to dreams, I really shy away from that because I've found that it's really very individual. Another technique that you can use is doing, if you have a story dream where there's several things going on, there's lots of people and stuff and places, you can actually draw it out as a cartoon. And then you can do these cartoon bubbles with captions for what that element is saying, why it's there. And that's what this woman did. And she wrote in 2 colors. She did the original cartoon in 1 color, and then she went back and she wrote some more information. And she wrote about, with numbers, something's wrong, mom doesn't want to look at it, she chooses to ignore it, and she writes on like that in red underneath here. So that was her interpretation of what the images in this dream were saying to her. So the cartoon approach with the word bubbles can be very effective. This had a whole thing to do with a gas station and a car and a man on the ground and all that stuff. So this is her way of approaching it as a storyline. Now, if you don't remember a whole dream, all you need are a couple of elements. This woman only remembered a shell on a piece of earth from a dream. And she was in my class, and we were doing dream work, and I went around the room, and people some of them had kind of long, convoluted dreams, some of them had shorter dreams, but they all seemed to have storylines and all. She says, you know, the only thing I ever remember is just like a fragment. I'll dream about a tree, or I'll dream about somebody running into the ocean or whatever. And last night I just had a dream, and all I remember is this shell, and it was on Earth. So I said, well, then just let that write. Become the shell, become the earth, and let them write. So this is what she wrote. She drew a picture of the shell, and she wrote, I am a shell and a piece of earth. So that's the first thing she wrote. A shell in a piece of earth, and she had drawn the shell. Rich, fertile, deep, brown, ruddy, healthy soil of my life. Soil of my life, and she underlined soil. Shit of my life. The beauty is one with the ugliness. Can't have one without the other. So that was her interpretation of the earth. And then a shell. A mere outer covering, a beautiful home for an unseen inside, a protected inside. And then she went on and wrote some more about how she protected herself and had to do that as she was younger, and was re-examining, did she need to be that protective now in certain areas of her life. Yeah.
It was all non-dominant.
This was with her dominant hand, because I wasn't stressing the non-dominant hand. This is early on when I first started teaching this. But nowadays I say write it with the non-dominant hand, because you'll get deeper insights right away. Mm-hmm. So make a note in your journal that you can work with fragments of the dream by letting the fragments speak. First draw them out, and then let them write as if they are speaking to you. So that's what you're doing. You're letting the object, the element, the person, the place speak to you. And I recommend using the non-dominant hand for that, for the drawing and the writing. Now, if you have questions that you want to ask after you've let the dream elements speak, then you can ask the questions with your dominant hand and let the non-dominant hand answer, because you're going to be, again, tapping into the unconscious through the right brain if you use the non-dominant hand. So it's fine to follow this up with a dialogue. This is a chapter about the shadow. And she had a dream about a spider in the basement. And that's her picture of it. And she did a dialogue with it. So she says, "What do you want from me?" to the spider. And the spider says, "I want you to hold me, to love me, to respect me, to cherish me, to come into my places, my home, to comfort me, to always stay with me, to take loving care of me, to do lots and lots of things for me. Give me your light, give me your guidance, love me and respect me." And her answer was, "Ugh, I hate all that dependency. Damn, can't you take care of yourself instead of wanting me to do it all the time? God." She had 10 children, 4 of them died, she and her husband raised 6 kids. So the idea of having something dependent on her made her crazy. She was one of like 12 or 13 kids, and she helped her mother raise the kids. So she grew up as a little mother all her life. So this was just really repulsive to her. And then the spider says, "I'm too scared." And she still goes, "Ugh." And the spider says, "I know you find me repulsive. I wish I weren't. I want you to see that I'm beautiful." "What's beautiful about you? What can you do for me?" And the spider says, "I can guide you in the basement. I can help you find your gut feelings and use them. I can help you find your way out of there. I can be very clear, very clever." And then she's just still critical. Scared, scared, scared spider. "God, why can't you speak for yourself instead of being so damn obtuse? Damn, I'm impatient with your process, your slowness, your stupidity. Damn it. I don't want to read your mind. I don't want to work so hard when I'm with you. I work with clients in therapy. I don't want to work with friends. I need friends who have higher states of consciousness, who speak for themselves." And the spider says, "You can't get rid of me. I live here. You either have to own me and hold me or be poisoned by me. I have lots of sting, see? Lots of toxicity." So in classic Jungian terms, she's dealing with her shadow. The parts of herself she doesn't like, that really repulse her, are saying, "You better pay attention to me." And they're also saying, "We can teach you how to really listen to your gut instincts." And of course, for a therapist, that's really, really important. So this is a perfect example of shadow work, of taking an element in a dream that's really obnoxious, that you really don't want to look at, and dialoguing with it. Draw it first, and then write the right hand, left hand dialogue. Questions with the dominant, the element answering the non-dominant. I want to share with you about a dream. I was in Oklahoma visiting my grandson, who was at college in Tahlequah, which is the capital of the Cherokee Nation. And while I was there, I went to the Cherokee Nation Museum, and I went into the gift shop. The night before I went, I had had a dream that I was in a little space capsule on some waves that looked like that. And it looked just like this, except there was a little, like a bubble space capsule floating around the water. And I went into the gift shop and I saw this beaded thing, and I turned to my friend who was Cherokee. I said, "Vicki, remember that dream I told you about? There's a piece of jewelry about my dream." And she said, "Oh, I think you better buy that." So I did. And what I was dealing with in my life at the time was a lot of changes and a lot of travel. And I was feeling anxious about it, but I wasn't letting myself feel the anxiety. And I started having low back problems. I was just carrying this burden of, instead of expressing the anxiety in my journal, I just stuffed it. Somewhere along the line, I had thought, I have to tough it out and travel and go to these different places and do these workshops, and I'm not going to worry about
planes and airports and all that stuff. I just got to tough it out and get there. But my inner child was saying, hey, we're anxious about this. Are we going to catch that next plane on time? Or are they going to cancel that flight? And I was trying to ignore that. And so this capsule on the water was getting all disoriented and, you know, moved around. And so I bought this because I wanted to remember this. Wear this to remind myself, do not forget my dreams, because they are indicating to me some stuff that I've really stuffed. And it really released a lot of tension I was carrying, and my back problem went away after that. Yeah. So it really is another road in to the same place that body symptoms take you. If I had dialogue with my body, I might have gotten the same message, but I didn't dialogue with my body. So my dreams came at night and said, hello, wake up. There's something you need to look at. And I even had a dream once that was a very convoluted dream about my creativity. And there was a statue, sort of like the Venus de Milo, that some kids threw through the window at me. And I was in my childhood home in the dream. I was in Santa Fe at the time. I went to a museum the next day, and there was a life-size statue exactly like the one in the dream. I just went, whoa, wait a minute. That was in my dream last night. Same color, same material, it was just bigger. And I went home and dialogued with that. I was like, I need to pay attention to that dream, and I need to pay attention to that figure. You know. And it had to do with there was a statue with no arms. It had to do with my feeling that I wasn't in complete control of my career at the time as an author and workshop leader. There were a lot of sort of stuff out of left field that was happening that was really getting me off. So I really felt really off balance, and so that was a very important dream. But it's like, if you're not going to pay attention to the dream, your everyday life is going to throw it at you again.